Hey, be a squid and subscribe to my mediocrity.
Alright, what's going on, everybody? Today we're talking about trees. We're revisiting a lot of the old spots because of the new update with the dream horses on consoles. So with that being out now, I feel like I need to go back and kind of just test some camera spots. Especially I've been holding off on mansions because recently I was going to do a mansions video, but then I heard the dream horse update was coming out, but then it got delayed and I was like, oh god. So with the release of that, now there's kind of a bit more value in certain camera spots, even polys for that matter, which we'll get to in a completely separate video. But for the most part, I wanted to just kind of revisit trees because we've already talked about it, so I figured I'd knock it out of the way. But I kind of went a little overboard. It was kind of nice, actually. It was pretty, I don't know what it was about that day, but I just felt like just putting it in, like the work. I was just so down for a really long tree session, and it was actually nice, and I'm glad that my boys were there hanging, just messing around in the party and keeping it lively, and we were able to just get through that 7 hour grind session just a breeze. Okay, so let's open up with the new stuff that's kind of out there at trees. So we have a bunch of new horse pieces. We've got the swaying shards, we've got the forest breath, we've got the crocodilos, origin stone. Those three things are actually huge because at the moment they're kind of ramped up in price. I think the swaying shard is slowly dying down because they are pretty abundant, which is very, very weird. I figured they would be kind of sort of on the downswing of things, but they drop fairly often. The Crocodilo's Origin Stone is kind of the ideal drop here next to the Voltara because it is worth 50 million currently, so it is actually very, very optimal in terms of adding an extra really just fine piece to the loot table, because now it's before, you know, like it's another 50 mil added on top of the Voltara, which is another like 40-ish mil, something like that. So depending on price fluctuation, Crocodilos will probably go down in price, but it all depends. Realistically, it's too soon to tell how the Crocodilos are going to turn out. As of right now, they are worth 50 million, which is very, very thick. But at some point, I sort of see them dropping maybe as low as 20 mil. But once again, too early to tell. But for right now, they're really nice. The swaying shards sell for a little under a mil, so about like 800,000 to 700k is probably what you're going to be selling at. So bear that in mind. And then the forest breaths are actually, see, they seem to be very rare. I don't exactly know how all that works. I don't really play PC BDO, so I'm not entirely sure how common they're supposed to be, so I'm sort of kind of feeling it out, but those seem to drop in very rare quantities, so I assume that they're not exactly the most common things, obviously. So I don't know. With that being said, they're about 2.4 mil, which is pretty thick. If they dropped a little bit more, probably would be nice, but if that was the case, they would be worth less on the marketplace, so take that as you will. An extra 2 mil on top of the trash suit that's worth quite a bit anyway is actually kind of nice. And I've also noticed that Mansion Voodoo dolls are now dropping a lot more at trees for whatever reason. Before, whenever I ran trees, I never saw these. I'm not sure about anybody else's experience, but for me, I never saw Mansion Voodoo dolls at trees. Like they were so rare, and not that they're, you know, super valuable or anything like that. I mean, you could run them for narc earrings and such, but in my personal opinion, that they have no value at the moment because Caphras are not out, and I've heard horror stories of people running like a bunch of those and then not getting a lot of Caphras. So I don't know, it's not really a discussion for console right now, so we're not going to worry about that. But just the fact that I actually got quite a few at trees makes me think maybe they buffed the drop rate of them. But for the most part, that you would see a lot of these at mansions, obviously. But trees, I never saw these. Like, and I've done trees a lot before the update, and I was there literally every day for like 2 to 4 hours on my Musa when I was, you know, really driving for 62. And I can honestly and wholeheartedly say I never got this many Mansion Voodoo dolls. I maybe picked up 1, maybe 2 in a session, but never this many. So, I mean, yeah, if we're just taking a look at the loot table right here, or not the loot table, just what I picked up in the 6 hours that I ran trees, I popped Agris, I popped 2 loot scrolls, and that was kind of it. Agris, I popped about 55k, which not max Agris, but it was good enough. which allowed me to pull in quite a bit of trash loot. We ended up pulling 15.7k, which is actually pretty thick. The total amount is 274,750,000 just from trash loot. And once again, that is with 2 loot scrolls as well as 55k aggregates. Then we ended up with 20 swaying shards, 3 forest breaths. We got a Voltara belt. I actually got a Krogdalo stone, but I sold it mid-session, not thinking about it because I was just on autopilot with the grind. So I like ferried it and just put it on the marketplace. So I technically got a Krogdalo stone as well, which is pretty thick. That's 40. I think the Voltaras now are like 45 mil, plus the Krogdalo, which is another 50 mil. So that in itself was 100 mil right there. And then on top of the 274 mil from the trash loot, and then like the 20 mil from the swaying shards, and then from the about 6 to 7 mil from the forest breath. This was a very, very thick session of trees, and I don't necessarily recommend this on a regular basis. Like going 6 to 8 hours, like that is insane. Like I was mentally fried after this session. Was it fun? Yes. The only reason though it was fun is because me and the boys were just rolling around, just goofing and talking all that nonsense, and that's the way we were doing things, which was really, really fun, and it kept our morale extremely high, as well as just not burning us out during the grind. We also let church buffs just run out. The gear score of the players, I'm 245 on my Zerker, or 246 AP on my Zerker to be specific. The Musa that was there, name's Richie. I will not give his gear score because he prefers me not to, but just know it's up there. And then my boy, Mr. Mitchie, he is a very, very low gear score Zerker. He's like under 235, so we just brought him to funnel him trash loot. So yeah, it was basically just me and Richie that were clearing trees by ourselves, and we were, mowing them down. It was actually going pretty quick. At times, it was kind of over clear, so we had to kind of jank up the rotation a little bit, and we were on 3-man main rotation by the leech tree, so it's kind of okay-ish. I kind of felt like I should get more trash loot. Like 15.7k, obviously nothing to sneeze at. That is close to 300 million. I get that, but I don't know. I just felt like maybe I'm being greedy. I don't know. I really don't know. But for a straight 6-hour grind sesh, it did fall off towards the end. We did no rebuffs, so we never went to go get church buffs. After our first 2 hours were done, we just let it dry off and we never touched them. We started popping a bunch of elixirs to compensate, and we kept re-tent buffing ourselves and obviously eating cron meals. That was basically it. We just ran elixirs, cron meal, and tent buff. That was it. And for those of you that may or may not be curious as to what elixirs were we running, I think we were running Carnage, we were running Frenzy elixirs, and we were also running Draining. Draining, you can kind of just let go. You can compensate with pots. Reason I brought Draining is so that way our lower gear score Zerker that was in the party didn't, die immediately every 5 seconds, because he's obviously like only 280 DP or something. So obviously getting hit with those red circles hurt a lot. So we have to compensate a little bit with some party elixirs to beef him up. But yeah, I mean, 6 to 7 hours of trees, not bad. I definitely am not hating on the grind at all. I definitely could see myself doing this once, maybe twice a week, just going absolutely ham and cheese at trees, because it's really good money now. With the Dream Horse update, we are seeing a lot more value in the Camisilva spots. Definitely agree for the most part that this is just a really, really good grind session. I'm really excited to go down to Manshams and see what I can pull out there. I'm gonna have to kind of probably give it a few hours, maybe even days, just to make sure I can see what everything is like in that area. When Dream Horse first came out, the entire place was a complete and utter war zone. Everybody was fighting for, a grind spot, trying to, get the Krogdalo stone, Dream Horse materials, so on and so on. So yeah, it was kind of just a complete mess in that area. But overall, not bad. I like trees. I really do. It's definitely revitalized the spot for me. When I was grinding on my Musa, I kind of hated it, but Zerker giving me that new love for another class and just kind of revitalizing my grind sessions. Not to mention the new items in trees. Very, very nice. Definitely gives me a lot of motivation too. So yeah, trees, really, really good. I highly recommend it. Definitely a top tier spot if you want XP, a good amount of money. What I don't recommend is going there with randoms and just trying to do a 6-hour grind session. That is very taxing on the mind. You got to have some close friends and just some goofy stories, or else you're gonna wanna, you know, step on a Lego and just fall over in a hole. That's gonna be it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye bye.